This is the second part of a lecture from October 23rd, 2020, talking about some of the things that happen in skeletal muscle as we age. And we spent some time in the first part of this lecture talking about how muscle mass and as well as innervation of muscles changes with age, and now we're going to talk about several things that happen to satellite cells, which are those undifferentiated stem cells in muscle, and we're going to talk about what happens to them as we age. And so overall, satellite cell function seems to decrease or decline with age. They lose their ability to regenerate muscle tissue the older an individual gets, right? And so satellite cells are undifferentiated stem cells, and we talked about how they normally serve to repair and maintain and regenerate myofibrils or muscle fibers or muscle tissue. And ultimately, over time, satellite cells just lose the ability to do that. And it seems like there's a combination of both intrinsic or internal genetic factors as well as extrinsic factors that affect satellite cell function over time. And the first sort of indication that there's an intrinsic mechanism that's being affected with age is that the number of satellite cells decreases with age. And that would indicate sort of a decrease in either cell division or proliferation of satellite cells. It's not clear what that mechanism is. It is not telomere related, as we know is sometimes the cause of replicative or proliferative senescence of cells. But we do know that satellite cells decrease in number in older individuals. And so it's possible that this is a result of their decrease in their capacity to divide. But it's not clear what controls that at this time, right? And so the other sort of evidence that there are intrinsic factors controlling satellite cell function is that if you take old satellite cells or satellite cells from an older individual, in this case from a mouse, and then you transplant those old satellite cells into a young mouse, they remain old. They still don't divide as well. They still lose their ability to function in regenerating muscle tissue. And the reverse is true as well. So if you take young satellite cells and put them into an old mouse, they retain their young quality, and they work much better. They can still divide, they can still regenerate tissue. And so they have to have some intrinsic capacity to determine whether they are young or old, right? And we're not sure what that really is. And then in terms of sort of the extrinsic or external factors that might decrease satellite cell function, there is evidence that laminin, or one of the main components of the extracellular matrix, decreases with age. And as we spoke about in the previous lecture, satellite cells require laminin in order to migrate to the correct location, to find the sites of injury where they need to repair muscle cell. And so it's possible that this decrease in laminin can affect satellite cell migration and then therefore affect their function. And additionally, there have been some experiments called parabiosis experiments done, where two mice of different ages or the same age are basically joined at the knee, the elbow, and then the perineum of basically the side wall. And in this process, their circulation is joined as well, right? And so you can see two young mice joined together that are now sharing a circulatory system, two old mice, and then a young and an old mouse. And in these parabiosis experiments where the circulation is shared between different mice, satellite cells from an old mouse that are exposed to the young environment start to take on young characteristics, whereas young satellite cells that are exposed to the old environment via the circulation take on old characteristics. And so it seems as though there's some kind of factor within the blood or the circulation that changes satellite cell aging. right? And it's not clear what that factor is, but the fact that satellite cells are able to change in response to the circulation to which they are exposed says that there's arguably something there, extrinsically controlling satellite cell function. And so overall, we know that satellite cells decrease in their ability to work over time. They no longer can regenerate damaged muscle tissue. They can't generate new muscle fibers. And that can be a result of intrinsic factors like a decreased ability to replicate, as well as extrinsic factors like a decreased ability to migrate to the site where they would need to repair or generate tissue.